Hello there friends, welcome. I'm Jaime Perkins. Today's video is going to be focused on straight edge ripping some sawmill lumber. This is 4/4 birch. That means it is 4 1/4 of an inch thick. That adds up to 1 inch if I'm not mistaken. And we're going to be using this wood for some subfloor. This is a little bit unconventional, but that's the beauty of being able to build a house for myself and with my business partner Brett, where we can just do kind of whatever we think is going to be really cool. We don't have, a homeowner telling us what they want it to be. This is what we want it to be. So that's a really awesome part of this project that I really enjoy. Anyway, I want to show you how we're going to construct this floor system because it is a little bit unconventional. Now you may have seen in another video that we did about the 4x10 pine beams. They're spaced 24 inches on center and spanning approximately 15 feet across the room. That is going to be the structure for the subfloor now that we're going to put on. We're going to apply these 1 inch thick rough sawn sawmill boards on top of the beams. And then we're going to do like a little, like a little Oreo cookie, a little layered kind of deal. So we're going to do 1 inch thick boards that we're going to rip today. Then we're going to apply a 3/4 thick layer of subfloor and like plywood. And then we're going to install a finished floor on top of that. So the total floor on top of the beams is going to total up to about 3 inches thick. That's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be super tough, super strong, and I think it'll be really awesome. All right, so here's my trusty old drafting table. I actually got this from my drafting teacher when I was in high school. It needed to be repaired. It was all broken. The legs were messed up. So I refurbished it and have now used it for my entire career up until this point. He also gave me this awesome drafting machine. I think it's called a drafting machine. Basically, no matter where you move that on the table, it stays perfectly square or parallel, and it has all kinds of angle adjustments that are super handy for doing drawings. I'm going to go ahead and apologize for all the chicken scratch on here, but this is my preliminary figure it out kind of drawings. And sometimes you just have to start drawing to figure out what you're doing. All right, this drawing right here, and it's kind of tall, so I can't get it all in the shot, but this represents the vertical cutaway of the house where I'm trying to figure out the ceiling height. Here we have the collar tie in the upstairs in the loft. We need a minimum of 80 inches clear. And then this little area here is what we're going to look at. This giant X right here represents the pine beam. That's a 4x12. And if I can get a little closer, this awesome part of the drawing represents the bottom layer is the wood that we're going to straight edge rip right now. The middle squiggly layer, that is going to be plywood, 3/4 plywood. And then the top layer, again, is just boards. That's going to be the finished floor. And you can see I have my frame wall and the exact height of my wall studs written here. And I had to figure all this at home. And then you can see on the bottom, I have my subfloor and I have my 3/4 inch finished hardwood floor. And you can see that my wall plate is built on the subfloor, just like normal. Over here, I kind of have the same drawing. I kind of did it twice, but over here, I was actually trying to figure out the ladder. And I'm going to build a ladder of some kind. It's probably going to be made of metal and wood. These are my preliminary drawings of the ladder to figure out the angle. You can see I have 70 degrees written there, but most likely I'm going to use 68. I've also been reading this page out of the code book here that describes all the requirements that a ladder such as this would have to meet. So something that I'm going to be working on soon is designing this ladder. I'm currently working on it and it's going to take a little more tweaking, but check this out. Okay, here's this little section of the floor that we're looking at. There's the pine beam and it is up against a framed wall, double top plated. Those two spaces are the double top plate. And then this little Oreo cookie layer of flooring, that's what we're going to be building. The bottom layer is the wood that we're ripping on this video. That is the 1 inch thick birch sawmill wood, followed by this little squiggly layer. That there is the 3/4 inch plywood layer. And then the very top is a 3/4 inch finished wood floor. Okay, so let me answer a question you might be asking yourself. Maybe not. A couple people have already asked me, why don't you just put this wood down on top of the beams and make that your finished floor instead of doing the layers with an additional finished floor? And there's a couple of reasons. One reason is, there would be little gaps between the boards. These are not going to be tongue and grooved, and I don't want them to be tongue and grooved. I just want them to be nailed down side by side, and it's going to create a very cool look. When you're looking up in the bedroom, you're going to see this wood, and it's going to be super awesome looking. Now, we need some separation between the rooms, between the bedroom and the level above it. So the layer of plywood is going to seal off all the gaps, and then we'll apply that finished floor. It'll also add some sound dampening properties so that there's a little bit of separation. If somebody's in the bedroom downstairs and somebody's walking upstairs, you don't want to hear every step that they're making or any conversation, anything like that, even though it'll be really close, I know. Another super important thing, I can't believe I didn't say this before, it's also going to allow me a thickness of material that my finished material can nail into. If I use a standard floor nailer, stapler, they have usually use 2-inch staples, okay? So I don't want to see staples popping through my beautiful ceiling below, and that layer of wood plus the plywood plus the finished floor, that gives me a thick enough layer that I can nail with that flooring nailer anywhere. I don't want to just nail into the joists. I'll be able to nail anywhere I want, fill it up with nails, and not have any nail pops in the ceiling below. All right, well, that is definitely enough talking. Let's get to some ripping. Oh man, welcome to another awesome morning at the shop. Man, look at this mess. My kids got a hold of some styrofoam. At least they had fun. We're trying to clean up a giant mess because this pile of wood is the wood that we need for today. And I have used that for a big place to put all my junk for the last, 6 months. And now it's time to get in there. I'm kind of scared actually, because I know there's stuff living in there now. I'm trying to set up a straight edge ripping jig right here. I've used a couple different things in the past, like the track saw. I've used just a chalk line. I've used a straight board and just clamped it to that. So I've used a bunch of different things. I'm not really sure what's going to be ideal, but I'm going to try something new this morning. I got this giant pole. This is an aluminum pole from a ladder jack style scaffolding. Handy for lots of stuff. It's a giant straight pole, so I think it might work.
Weed eat back here.
I need somebody to weed eat back here. This looks like a jungle.
Where's the little push mower?
It's because my hand, folks. I'm not lazy, okay? It's a jungle because my hand's wrapped up and I can't weed eat right now. My wife will kill me if she finds out I'm out here running a weed whacker. Anyway, I'm wondering what kind of wildlife is going to be in here. I know there's mice because I saw mice the last time I took the cover off. But you know what? Everywhere there's mice, there's snakes. And I just hope there's no bees. And Brett's hoping even more than that, because I'll have to stab him with an EpiPen through the heart if he gets stung by a bee.
Hopefully not through the heart.
Isn't that where you do it?
In the leg.
Haven't you seen that movie Anaconda?
Yes. My friend actually passed out in the movie theater while watching Pulp Fiction, and they stabbed him in the heart.
Oh no. Pile of birch. This is the same pile of wood we used in Ashley's brick shop, the brick building. Look at that. 4-quarter birch, #1 common. All right, now we're gonna try out some ripping here.
New blades.
Brett, do you have anything like really wise to say today?
When ripping lots of wood, always have a new blade.
Hey, that is wise.
There's nothing worse than trying to rip boards with a dull saw blade.
You pulled that out of your butt. I didn't know what you might say, but he's totally right. So we got this old Makita saw. No, it's not a Makita. It's red. It's
not blue.
That is a Milwaukee, for the record, not a Makita. Actually, my dad bought me that saw for my birthday. Man, I bet like more than 10 years ago.
It weighs about 12 pounds.
I've put about 4 switches in it. For some reason, the switch keeps going out, but I've had this thing more than 10 years, and it is my dedicated Rip saw. I got this Rip Master on it. Who makes that Rip Master? Maybe a Rip Master, huh?
I guess.
Anyway, this thing has been great. You just clamp it on with these little screw type clamps. They attach to the front of the base plate, and it has a nice adjustable thing there. Man, this thing's been great. I've had this forever too, and I use it a lot, a whole lot. So
It stays like this.
yeah, I don't ever take it off because I've got enough saws laying around that this one is just permanently, and this saw kind of has the most power too, and that's a good reason to leave it for a rip saw.
Here's your wise, never change the blade while it's plugged in.
Yeah, for real. It is unplugged. New blade going on. Nice fresh Diablo. That's my favorite blade, actually. Well, unless you're talking like forest blades, but hey, for construction, Diablo, that's where it's at. Now we're gonna try something new here. There is nothing holding this board down. It's just sitting here, and I know that the edge of the saw cuts 1.5 inches of the blade, cuts 1.5 inches from the edge of the saw, and the edge of the saw is gonna edge of the saw rides against this piece of metal. So I'm gonna just set the edge of the board like 1.25 inches, or maybe 1 inch from the guide, and just hope that the board doesn't scoot around on me. That's gonna be our first attempt anyway. Otherwise, we gotta figure out some other method. This ripping jig, it's not bad, but it's not great either. Okay, we have the Festool track saw, and you might wonder why I'm not using it. Well, the problem is the tracks only come in like 10 or like 4, 6, 8, 10 length pieces. I think they actually make a 16-foot track, but it's not really industrial like. It's kind of, it's more like fine woodworking stuff. What I'm doing right now, I wouldn't call this fine woodworking. This is like more construction. So what I need is a construction grade ripping saw that can straight edge boards. I'm gonna show you a board. This one is a good example of a curvy board. Focus, camera, focus. This one's got at least 1.5 inches of curve in it, and so we're gonna put it tight to the ripping fence because the saw only takes off 1.5 inches. And we'll show you what happens here. Eyes, ears, check. Hey, let her rip. I know, it's terrible. Okay, so how straight is it, you might ask? Well, Brett, let's bump this one against the guide and see how we did. Oh, wow, look at that. Okay, all right, so you can see I got about 1/8 sticking off here. So that's probably the worst of it. I mean, actually, it would probably go tighter. Yeah, not really. Okay, so we took a variation of 1.5 inches and turned it into a variation of 1/8 of an inch, which for us is acceptable.
Gotta look old.
In case you were wondering, a table saw is not being used here because it would not do the same effect of giving a straight edge. It would simply narrow the board, keeping the same curve that the board already has. A table saw could then be used on the other side to rip the second edge straight using the first straight edge against the fence of the table saw, but in this case it's easier to move a saw with a guide than to move the board across a table saw.
Well, me and Brett aren't too worried about some extra waste on the rip because both of us burn wood in the wintertime for heat for our homes. So every bit of the rips, of the scraps, the waste, you might say, is going to get cut into 1-foot pieces, put into a nice little box. It's the middle of summertime right now. We're going to save it till winter, and we'll have plenty of kindling to go all winter long. So that's pretty nice. I even have so much I give it away to people, like my mom, my in-laws, and anybody else that needs some good kindling. I usually have so much of it, I need to get rid of it. Okay, got another board ready to go. I want to show you, I've got piles of rips here. We're just separating them into their rip width so we get an idea of how many of each rip that we get. So there it is. We're just stacking them up. We're gonna keep sawing here for a while, see what we can make. We're having problems here, folks. It is very difficult to keep the saw riding against the fence. Why is it so hard? Can somebody tell me why it's so hard?
Nope. Physics.
Physics. All right. Hey, saw number 3. All right, we're back to Makita, but a different one. And we'll see if it does any better. If not, we're gonna chuck them all off the bank, call it a day. Turns out this Makita saw does a really great job of staying against the fence without getting in a bind, without trying to wander off the fence into the board and make my cut all crooked. For whatever reason, this saw does a great job, and the other 2 saws were terrible. What's satisfying to me is taking a bunch of crooked boards that are in their state of crookedness, or in essence almost useless, but then making them all uniform widths. Uniform. Man, why is that hard for me to say right now? Uniform, that's what I'm trying to say. Not like the clothes you wear when you go to prep school. I'm talking about, well, I guess that is the same. Making everything the same. Uniform. Equal widths, all straight edges, turning it into something that is now ready to be used. That is satisfying. For some reason, I like it. Maybe you do too. And there you have it. Nice pile of wood. It's in the truck. It's headed over to my other shop where it's going to get planed. Some of these boards are a little thicker than others, and since I'm using it for basically a subfloor, I need them all to be exactly the same thickness. That's going to require 1 pass through the planer to ensure myself that everything is the same thickness, and then it'll make a nice, flat, beautiful floor. Man, just when you thought it was over, here we go. We're going to try to plane these boards. Coming into the shop. Run them through the planer. It's already full. Look at that. Woo! That is some shavings. So sometimes I burn all the sawdust, but actually it's a lot of work to burn it and sit here and babysit it all day. Lucky for me, Brett has chickens. What do you call them? Hey, wait a minute. He's got, I call them fancy chickens.
Yeah.
It's not your average chickens. I'm gonna have to get a shot of the chickens. What do you call them?
Silkies. We got silkies, model cochins, all kinds of funky chickens.
These are like exotic chickens.
And they're little itty bitty eggs.
With tiny eggs. Yeah. Exotic
Like
chickens.
really good eggs.
Really good ones though.
They're like, the yolk fills up almost the whole egg. So
wow, so they're small, but they're extra good.
Yes, delicious.
Amazing. The dust bin filled up after 11 boards. Holy moly. So look, okay, we can look at this. These 2 containers came off of 11 boards. That's it right there. 11 pieces. That much shavings. Pretty amazing, really. Here we go again. You got some lucky chickens, man.
Yeah, that's it though. Probably don't need more of that right now.
Oh, you're getting it all. Oh yeah. Sweet.
That's right. It's the bad side.
Well, look, this is beautiful. Look, it's the same color as my co-band. Okay, now the debate. Which side do we reveal? Do we reveal the rough sawn side? Or do we reveal the smooth, the nice plain side? I think I know the answer. I'm not going to say right now, but I think I know the answer. I think we're going to be done right now. All the boards loaded. What? You got them loaded?
We gotta unload them.
Oh, dang. We got to take these into town. we got to take these down there and actually unload them down at the house. Some of those boards were so thick, actually, we had to plane them twice. And that's exactly why I wanted to plane them, because they vary in thickness by too much, at least in my opinion, to use for basically a subfloor. So now they're all a very uniform thickness of just a shy over an inch, a bit over an inch. It's like maybe 1 1/16. Board meeting. Okay, wow. That's all the wood for today. It is stacked into sizes like widths. It's a nice little stack ready to go in. We got our stack of pre-painted soffit. We're gonna use this for soffit. That is pine. That was 1 inch boards that we split in half on the bandsaw, made them 1/2 inch thick. Painted up, ready to go. And let's have a quick look here at the loft. All right, all this flooring boards we made today is for the loft. It's gonna get nailed down right on top of these beams. This is the bedroom, a bedroom, one of them. So coming soon, we'll be applying this wood to the top of the beams, making an awesome bedroom ceiling. So good, can't wait.